What's up, everyone? I'm Corum, and today I present you something very, very special. A lot of you probably have been waiting for. To all my business men and women, entrepreneurs, go-getters, this is something for you. I present you How Do You Do It podcast. How Do You Do It podcast is a podcast where, I bring on successful, very successful men and women. This is something school, books might not be able to teach you. So I suggest you maybe get a notepad, pen and paper, take some notes, listen to what they have to say. We're going to talk about their success, their failures. How did they get there? I'll bring it to you today. Today is the first time, and it's going to be a beautiful podcast. Today's episode is presented by Wolverine Boots. Wolverine Boots is a brand that I love and enjoy and share a lot with. Their tenacity, hard work. It's something I present. As you can see, I have it on today. For over 130 years, they have been the soul of this country, this country, and they're great. So shout out to Wolverine Boots. My special guest today is a man with a plan, a very successful man. Someone I call a mentor. He's my mentor, someone I look up to, someone I aspire to be. He's a successful businessman, but he's an even better person, someone that loves giving back to the community, which is all this is about. Giving back is supposed to be your purpose. And that's why I look up to him so much. He's been part of athletic teams. He's in the real estate. You name it, he's done it. So today, I present you a good friend, a mentor of mine, Nate Forbes.
Surprised you're awake this morning. What time did you get back last night?
I got back around 11 o'clock.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad at all, man.
Took care of business down in Lincoln.
Hey, that's what it's all about.
That's
Took care of business in Lincoln.
Came home, get a day off today, get back to work tomorrow.
Exactly. That's it.
Got to get through the Big Ten grind.
Get the body right today. Like you said, get back at it tomorrow. But Nate, I appreciate you for coming on to this show, the first ever.
First ever Corum podcast.
Yes, sir. The first ever. How did you do it? And
can we crack one and then
crack it open.
Keep it open? And cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Like I said, this is the first of its kind. How Did You Do It podcast? And I just want to thank you for allowing us to come to this beautiful hotel that you just opened up along with your partners, the Godfrey. And God Almighty, this is amazing. So how did you do it? How did we get here? Take me back to the beginning. Where did you start? Where'd you go to school?
Well, I went to school, University of Michigan.
That's right.
Graduated in 1985. And literally in a couple years after I graduated, I was in my mid-20s.
Okay.
And the associate athletic director, Fritz Seifert, was the associate athletic director back then, had solicited me to help him raise $5.5 million for the University of Michigan tennis facility that's on South State Street. I was a 25-year-old kid. I didn't know anything about philanthropy and raising money. And Fritz didn't know much about tennis. He said, we need to raise the money, but the real tennis following is down in Oakland County. It's not up in Ann Arbor. Can you help me generate the buzz around here to get this new tennis facility built? They were playing in the track and field house at the time.
Wow.
And they put up temporary nets, and it was on a rubber court, and it was awful. It wasn't Big Ten worthy. So I said, sure. He said, well, if you're going to do that, I also need you to make a gift. You got to make a gift to lead the campaign. I said, Fritz, I don't have any money. How can I make a gift? So anyway, at the time, I pledged a gift, and I figured I had no idea how I was going to pay it off.
Right.
So we started this process, and literally, first person I called who's been a great Michigan. He's now passed away, David Hermelin. And I said, David, here's what we're going to do. David lived on 14 acres in Beverly Hills. He had a great tennis court on a big lawn. I said, here's what we're going to do. I said, we're going to have an event at your house. You're going to host it, and it's going to be Aaron Krickstein against Malavia, Washington. We're going to bring the University of Michigan Marching Band. You're going to do one of your great barbecues that you always do, and we're going to host it right after we go back to school in September. And we did. We had an event with Malavia, Washington, Aaron Krickstein, Michigan Marching Band, and we raised the money in less than 6 months from that event. And that was my first foray into philanthropy and my first connection to University of Michigan and University of Michigan athletics. And from there, I've just been involved. It's just been a passion and a labor of love. And I love helping the community. I love helping athletes. I love helping people like yourself figure your path and your course.
Yeah, talk about philanthropy. This Christmas, we'll have something at Somerset Mall. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. We're going to do a big Christmas giveaway, and it's going to be awesome. Like Nate, like myself, we love giving back to the community, and I appreciate you so much for, helping me. It truly means a lot. Can you tell me about a hard time or some adversity you faced through your business ventures?
Sure.
I know there's probably a lot of them, but how did you get through, those hard times when maybe you thought about giving up? Just how did you do it?
My business career, I remember in the development business, we were building a shopping center down in Orlando, Florida called Mall at Millennia. And we were 13 months into construction. We were going to open in 11 months. And we were in the process of leasing up the small shops. It's very similar to Somerset here in the Detroit area.
Nice.
And I was on the plane flying to Orlando. I used to go every Monday morning on the 6:50 a.m. flight, and I'd come home Thursday night. And I remember flying down to Orlando. We were in the pre-leasing phase, and we had meetings down there. And I'm flying to Orlando. It's on 9/11. And pilot said, "Can everyone take their seat? We're going to descend to 10,000 feet." And I looked at the map. We were only over Georgia. Thinking, what the hell are we descending 10,000 feet for? So we descend to 10,000 feet. We fly the last hour and 20 minutes at 10,000 feet. We land in Orlando, get out of the plane. I'm one of the first ones off the plane, 9/11. So my heart went absolutely devastated.
Right, yeah.
The whole country shut down for 60 days. In the meantime, we got to continue to build this shopping center. We got to open in 11 months. We got obligations, commitments. We got bank obligations. We got obligations to our department stores. This was an upscale luxury mall with Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Neiman Marcus and 160 small shops. But the leasing activity stopped. Nobody wanted to talk about opening new stores, especially in a tourist market like Orlando.
Right.
When 9/11, the whole country was on pause.
Right.
Nobody was traveling. Nobody knew what the heck was going on. So our banks started to close in on us, and we had to come up with additional obligations to the bank. They wanted us to put some more guarantees behind the loan. They didn't know when we would pick up the leasing velocity to get the center leased at a level that was representative of being able to cover the mortgage. So we kind of retrenched, and I was absolutely devastated. We retrenched, and when things started to get a little back to normal, it took about 8 weeks. I said to each one of my team, my leasing team, I want your 5 most important tenants that we're working with. And we set up meetings with every one of those. I had 4 people on the job. There was 20 meetings wherever their offices were, Paris, London, Milan, New York, California.
Right.
We went and met with the heads of every company to assure them that we were going to get this project done on time, to reinforce our message and our brand and our belief of the type of shopping center we were building, make sure they were comfortable that the sponsorship is behind this project, and we aren't going to put our foot off the gas for 1 second, and we need your support. Most of these companies we had done business with for 20 years, 30 years,
right. So
we need your support. Yeah. So we ended up getting over the hump. Fast forward 11 months with nothing but perseverance and push. I mean, every single day. We opened up 92% open and 96% committed.
Ooh.
But that, like I'll tell you, that every day, 6 a.m., I was up and I didn't go to bed at night till 10. I mean, there was a 6-month period that it was really touch and go.
Hey, that's what it takes to be a businessman.
That's what it takes. That's belief. It's like
belief.
You got to have the belief system, the work ethic, and you got to know that you're going to get to that outcome.
Right.
If you put in the work.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it takes to be a businessman. And like myself, you said you were up at 6 a.m. till midnight, or probably some nights you didn't even sleep, Some nights you didn't even sleep, might not even 8. But that's what it takes. The job must get done. And, for me growing up, like I said, where I live, not too many people go to college, and recruits don't come to the area. I showed my parents from a young age, like, I want to go to college. I want to play football. I want to go to the NFL. And like you say, you were up 6 a.m. to midnight. I did something the same way, just not, in the business form, on the athletic side. I would wake up at like 6 a.m. and run the hill in my backyard. Just the job had to get done. But, I want to be where you're at one day. Like, I love football. Don't get it wrong. I absolutely love football. But I aspire to be a businessman. And, I think the characteristics that I've built, from playing, football, baseball, wrestling, whatever it may be, can get me to a place where maybe I'm like you one day. So, I know a lot of people are going to be watching, and, especially business people that aspire to be business people, entrepreneurs, like you said, just the go-getters. What type of characteristics would you say a businessman or woman needs to have to be successful? How can they do it? What type of characteristics do they need?
Listen, I mean, the correct answer is first of all, they got to have a vision. So you have to have a vision in your mind of what you want that outcome to be.
Okay.
What you want that outcome to look like.
Right.
And that outcome should be something that is almost euphoric. So dreaming a big dream. And then you got to plot out how you're going to get there. And there's steps along the way. And you're going to run into obstacles. You have to push through those ceilings. Sometimes you're going to have a boss that you just don't hit it off with. And how do you manage that relationship? How do you learn to sidestep that relationship to take the next level? If there's something in real estate that you have a vision of building or buying, how do I get that under my ownership and under my contract through my negotiation, through my relationships? So it's thinking about connecting those dots in a way that doesn't allow you to stop that process. Always holding yourself out there at the highest level of integrity, continuing to push through when adversity hits, and ultimately you will find yourself climbing a rung of that ladder. The guys that try to go from first to third without touching second base never make it.
Right.
They run across a pitcher's mound and they trip. Mm-hmm. So you got to touch first base, and then you got to get from first to second to third. So just making sure that you're making incremental first downs every week and every month to get to your ultimate dream. But drive, persistence, and absolutely not taking no for an answer.
I love it. Take no, like he said, take no for an answer. Do not take no for an answer. Do you have any favorite books or anything that you've read?
What I like to do is love to look at successful business people and learn from their career paths in their life. So I'll look at people in the industry and kind of follow and read as much as I can about them.
Okay.
And what was their path. Because invariably, everybody that starts out doing something kind of reverses course at somewhere along the way. And they ultimately get back to that road that they wanted to get on. But sometimes it's going to take you a little bit left and a little bit of right, a little right to get back on that course. But look at history, look at guys you emulate in the real estate business, get an opportunity to read about them, their holdings, their business philosophy, their business culture, and how they develop kind of that ideal and how they develop that platform that they've created over time. And I always look to Winston Churchill, which is one of my favorite quotes of all time. And you can equate this to football, you can equate it to business and anything in life, that success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts.
Wow.
So what that says is if you get success, that's not final.
Right.
It's got to be something else, right?
Yeah.
But failure is not fatal.
Yeah.
You learn from failure. But what does he say at the end? It's the courage to continue that counts. And that's that pushing through that ceiling to get to that next rung on the ladder. Don't think you can go from that first rung to that fifth rung. You got to climb that ladder one step at a time.
That's huge. And I guess that's the difference between being successful and not being successful. A lot of people, that I've seen over the years, especially in athletics, they reach a level of success. They get to college, they get to D1. They think they made it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the main goal here? You told me you had dreams going to the NFL, but, you don't work as hard as you did in high school. You don't work as hard as you did, and when you were a youth. You know what I'm saying? What happened? Where'd the motivation go?
But one thing I'll tell you, Blake, in whatever you do, if you invest in that process, if you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your real estate, and you're a long-term visionary guy, it's going to pay back dividends. So you can't just cut expenses to profitability. You got to grow the top line. And to grow the top line, you have to invest whatever it is you're doing. Invest in marketing, invest in improvements, invest in the experience, whatever it is, you have to grow revenue. And don't think about it as cutting your way to profitability. Because the profitability is going to take care of itself.
Right.
But you got to have the product. So keep thinking about what that next evolution looks like.
Most definitely. Eventually, I want to get into, multifamily homes, apartment complexes, maybe even a beautiful hotel like the Godfrey,
Yeah.
But, I had to start somewhere, and I think that's what a lot of people go wrong. They're scared.
Because what happens is in these kind of things, especially when you're young, you get very euphoric.
Mm-hmm.
You think everything's going to work and everything's going to be perfect, but it doesn't always work that way. So you got to know when to close and you got to know when to walk away.
Right. Most definitely. Like you said, long term.
Long-term thinking.
Thinking about the bigger picture, man, And a lot of people, they try to chase the fast money, the quick money, but man, invest in your future, And
fast forward 20 years from now, Blake Corum's done with football, done with professional sports, has a family. Where's he living? What is his empire?
Where is he living? I don't know where he's living. Maybe a nice house in Florida. I might be here in Detroit, I might be here, but my lifestyle, where am I going to be? Hopefully I'm sitting here doing an interview with a Michigan athlete, but I'm in your place now. Mm-hmm. I would love, I look up to you, Nate, and, you inspire me, everything, you've done, you've acquired, like you say, your philanthropy, it's amazing, man. It's truly amazing. So hopefully we switch spots and there's another athlete here.
That's always my hope too. And that's why I love giving time to people that have an interest in furthering themselves in their careers and their personal lives.
No, most definitely. But, every day, I try to outdo myself every day. Who I was yesterday, I want to be better than, the next day. You know what I'm saying?
And that's their philosophy.
That's their philosophy, and they go off of like hard work, tenacity, and grit. Yep. 3 key traits that, you have to have. You have to have, you know what I'm saying? So, when we talk about NIL, Wolverine is a brand that,
They support the team now too.
Exactly, So I sophomore year, and then now they're supporting our team.
Which is great.
Which is.
But let's talk about the team as it relates to individuals, because some players make more than others. Yeah. And how does that affect a locker room? How does that affect?
It's life. It's
I guess not every player in the NFL makes the same amount of money either.
Yeah, right? I mean, look at the running back position, They say we make less than kickers, and I think kickers deserve a good amount. Don't get it wrong. I'm not saying anything wrong with kickers, but I believe running backs should get paid a little more, but, a running back shouldn't get paid as much as a quarterback.
Emmitt Smith said when he retired from Dallas, Emmitt Smith said, somebody asked him, how much of a toll did your body take? He said, every Sunday was like I was in a high-speed car crash. So when you talk about running backs and, what their value is, then you're in a high-speed car crash, 20 carries a game, whatever it is.
Whatever it takes.
You're running downhill, and that linebacker's coming at you, running the other way downhill.
Oh,
and man,
it's like two Rams.
Two Rams hitting each other. That's what he used to say.
2 Rams, but, NIL, when we talk about NIL, when we talk about, the locker room, people making more than one another, at Michigan, it doesn't affect anyone. You know what I'm saying? The locker room is the locker room.
Because why? Explain why.
It's because of the culture. It's the culture that we've built inside Schembechler Hall. And just like any business, NIL is a business now, Yep. Sports, college football, basketball, whatever, it's a business. And it's always been a business for the school, but now it's a business for athletes and, you name it. But it's the culture, and having a good culture, whether it be in sports, businesses, is key.
Yeah, and we talked about this at the break, and I said, where did the last 2 years, this being the third year that Michigan's been in the national title chase, and in every conversation on every ESPN, Sports Center, and everything else, when did it change? You and I were talking about this. Yeah. When did this all change? When did we go from being top 15 team to a top 3 to 4 team?
You talk about success and then failure, right? Yeah. COVID year, failure. That was my freshman year with 2-4. We were getting spanked. Wisconsin spanked us. You name it. Went 2-4, and it was because the culture inside the locker room wasn't good.
And who did you give responsibility to kind of changing that culture?
My man Josh Ross and Aiden Hutch.
Two defensive players. So you mentioned two defensive players.
Two defensive players brought everyone in. Hey, we're brothers. There's not going to be a clique over here. We work as one. And I can't say that for every team, but I promise you here at Michigan, we're happy for another man's success. You know what I'm saying? Because, that's my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If he's successful, I know my time's coming.
That's exactly right.
You know what I'm saying? So, And, you know,
if you do it the right way, your time's going to come. You have to perform on the field, in the classroom, in the community.
Exactly.
And your time's coming.
Exactly, man. And that's what I preach to, you know, high school athletes. You know, go where you're going to be set for life. You know what I'm saying? And at Michigan, you know, you're going to be set for the next 40 years.
Yeah. You have contact with a alumni level that is not seen in other colleges. The success of our alumni and what they've gone on to do and the different industries that they've touched and impacted is incomparable.
Oh, it's like I said, everywhere you go, you know, you see Michigan fan, Michigan alum, Michigan flags, you know, you name it. You know, we have the best and the biggest alumni, you know, in the world. And, you know, something I love about our alumni, you know, we're getting off topic with NIL a little bit, but something I love about our alumni is they want to help.
Yeah. But it comes back to, you say we get off topic, really not, because what happens is when we started this collective, we started working on the collective. The marketing side sits on top of the collective, private fundraising collective that has to pay out, you know, all of our scholarship sports across 29 scholarship sports, I believe we have in Michigan. It takes a lot of private time and private philanthropy to do that. And this has been a new process. This is the new era of college athletics. You know, somebody asked one of the auto executives 7 years ago, what do you think of electric vehicles? And the answer they gave at an economic luncheon speech here in Detroit was, it doesn't matter what my personal opinion is about economic vehicles, EVs. We're in the area of building EVs.
Right.
So whether I think they're good or it doesn't matter. Whether we think collectives and paying college athletes is good or not, we're here. We got to figure out how to adopt. We got to figure out how to play within the rules. We got to figure out how to get the maximum amount of money to our college athletes that commit to the process, which is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Committing to that process. It's not just coming and playing and performing on the field to get paid. You have to perform in the classroom. You have to perform in your community. You have to be a great teammate. You have to be a good leader. And then the rest will follow.
The rest will follow, man. Champion Circle.
Champion Circle, which we founded, and there's we have, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 members of Champion Circle, which were the original founders of this collective. And we meet every week with Valiant, and we figure out how we're going to do things better and how we're going to increase our reach and our base to make sure that we are being competitive and putting the best teams on the field from a competitive posture and competitive standpoint.
Yeah, and I tell you, you know, we're so appreciative for Champion Circle. You know, myself, other teammates, you know, we thank you guys so much, you know, because you guys are the face of it and a huge help, you know. So, you know, Champion Circle is huge, and I can only see it growing from here. You know, I can only see it growing from here. And like I said, Michigan, if any athletes listen, come to Michigan. I promise you, it will be the best decision of your life. Listen, it's not about the money, man. The money will come here, get the best degree in the world, play great football. You know, everything else will work itself out, baby. Everything else will work itself out.
There's two sayings in life that I believe in. And one is that money doesn't lead, it follows. So if you do everything else right, as we were just been talking about, money will follow. If money leads your every thought and your every decision, it's never going to get you where you want to be. That's one. And number two, it's not about the who, it's about the what. So if it's always about who said it, who did it, who got seventh, you know, that will never win over the long term, but it's about the what. And the what is the outcome. What is the outcome that every one of us are aiming for? So don't make it about who did it, make it about what it is you're trying to achieve. And those two things are very, very important as it kind of guides you through your path in life.
I suggest y'all write that one down. And let's get into something I've been waiting to talk about.
Yeah.
You were the owner of the Cavs.
I was one of the owners.
One of the owners of the Cavs. You won an NBA championship.
I did, 2016.
And one of my favorite athletes, you could say one of the best ever, if, you know, who's the best ever? Michael Jordan, LeBron James. What was it like being around him? Could you give me some gems that, you know, that maybe he did, or his work ethic, you know, his tenacity, his grit, you know, kind of like Wolverine. What was he like? You know, what was it like? How did you get to be a part of the Cavs?
Well, two separate questions.
It's two separate questions.
Let's start with the part of the Cavs. There was an ownership group led by Dan Gilbert back in 2005, 2006. that purchased the Cleveland Cavaliers at that point in time. Cavaliers were owned by a local gentleman, Gordon Gund. Gordon had owned the Cavs in the Richmond Coliseum for years. Our ownership group bought the Cavaliers, and LeBron James was he had been drafted the year before, so he was just starting the second year in Cleveland.
Okay.
So we bought the team, and it took a while to get things in the right place. We changed some of the executives, general manager and coaching staff, made some changes the first 12 months. It's a lot to get your arms around. So that's how it started. I was on the board of governors and the vice chairman of the Cavaliers for 8 or 9 years, last 8 or 9 years of the tenure in Cleveland. And LeBron James is probably, if you were to ask me who you want your kid to model, whether it's in sports or in business, I would say LeBron James. LeBron wakes up every day and knows where he wants that day to end. He is a student of the game. He is a student of his body. He keeps himself in the best physical and nutrition condition of any athlete I've ever seen. And he is so committed to the process. On the court and off the court, studying film, understanding tendencies. And if you're on his team and you mess up, you will know it before anybody else. I mean, he just knows where everybody needs to be on every trip down the court. No wasted possessions with LeBron. He's the quintessential professional. Never get into trouble. Holds himself to the highest standard. But he also holds his teammates and ownership groups to the highest standard. And he is a guy you want to lead. He's a guy you want to follow. And he makes things easy for everybody else because he is so demanding and he has a perfection mentality about him. He's immaculate. He's on time to everything. And that's, when you're really studying a professional athlete, he's at the top of the list. Really amazing.
He's one of my favorite athletes. I saw the other day, what's he going on his 20th season?
21st
season. He was in the gym at 322, and that's what you have to do. If you want to be great, you have to work when others aren't working.
That's exactly right. I'll tell you a quick story about that. 2016, the year we won the championship, we go down 3-1 against Golden State. And that was at home. We lost game 4 at home. LeBron goes into the locker room, sits in his locker and has a towel over his head. He didn't move for an hour and a half because he knows what it takes to get to the pinnacle of competing at the highest level, how hard it is. The off-season work, the in-season work, the travel, the adversity, the injuries, everything. We go down 3-1. He sits in that locker room, doesn't talk to reporters, puts that towel over his head. When he left the locker room that night, he made sure that every player, before we got on the team plane to go back to Golden State, that their minds were right. And if they weren't right, you weren't getting on that team plane. He had in his mind, we were going out there to win game 5 and coming back to Cleveland for game 6. No team had ever come back being down 3-1. And if you don't have the mindset that we can change that narrative, we can change history, don't get on this plane because we're going out there to win. We go out to Golden State, we win game 5. We come home, we win game 6. We go back to Golden State for game 7, which is probably the best NBA Finals game of all time.
I get chills listening. I get goosebumps listening to that story.
We go down 8 at halftime or 7 at halftime. We go into the locker room. The locker room is dead quiet. We come out of the locker room and J.R. Smith scores the first 8 points in the third quarter.
Okay, J.R.
And JR was the kind of kid that he missed his first 10 shots. It didn't matter because he was making 11, 12, 13, and 14. That kid, and he has ice in his veins, and there wasn't a shot that he couldn't make. And the harder the shot, the higher degree of chance it was going in.
Right.
And then, obviously Kyrie made the shot, LeBron made the block, and Kevin Love made the defensive stop. And, the rest was history.
That's absolutely amazing, man. We talked about, your ventures. How did you get here? How did we get in this beautiful Godfrey Hotel? We talked about, like I said, real estate. We talked about athletics. We talked about NIL. We talked about the Cavs, the NBA championship. We talked about the king, LeBron James. It's been a pleasure and an honor getting to, know you a little more. I know you're my mentor, but getting to know you a little more, giving the people something to listen to and hopefully motivate them. What does it take to be a businessman? What does it take to be successful? And I think, you're the definition of successful and just a good human being, man. And I really appreciate you. I look up to you. That's a wrap, fellas, from the Godfrey Hotel. Shout out to Wolverine Boots. We definitely appreciate you. That's it for the first episode of How'd You Do It podcast.